Hello everybody, it's me, producer Ross, and welcome to another edition of my ITFC. And today it's an absolute pleasure to be joined by Ed Lay, the man behind the drums for the editors. It's great to have you on, my friend. How you been doing during these weird and strange times we've been living in?
Good to speak to you, my friend. I hope I'll hear my friend quite a lot over the next half hour. Yeah, it's all right, thank you. I'm kind of getting into the festive spirit now. So that's the thing. I think it's important to portion up your time and make sure you've got something to look forward to at the end of a bit of a grind and monotonous time that we've been having. So yeah, Christmas is coming. I'm all game for that. I lived in Ipswich all my sort of young life. So I was born on Norwich Road. So and then I went to school at St Matthew's, which is on Portman Road. So it's always been a spectre for me. It's always been, the ground's been there, and my family are all fat Town fans. So I was always going to be a Town fan. I like the feeling of being around things happening. You know, I went to school with Kieran Dyer, who's in the same year as my brother. So, you know, there's always excitement around people like that, local lads playing for the local team. And I got my first Christmas kit when I was sort of 7, I suppose, and slept in that overnight, and it was so exciting to have, and it was a good time to be a Town fan. It was exciting Division 1 days, really.
Next question is your first Town game. Can you remember it? The team, the score?
I can remember the team. I remember the score, certainly. I went to Ipswich versus Middlesbrough, and we beat them 4-0. So it was kind of the most perfect start to my Ipswich Town watching career. It never got any better. But it was Dalian Atkinson was playing for us, and he scored a hat-trick. And so that was quite remarkable to see that. And I noticed, because I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I just sort of was checking the teams, and apparently Tony Mowbray was playing for Middlesbrough. I didn't realise at the time, didn't click with me at all until just going back to it. And so that was kind of cool, because he became one of my, heroes, and that goal he scored in the playoff final. And the bit that you guys put together, that Andy put together about the playoff final a couple of weeks ago, seeing that just brought back so many memories and emotions, and it was an incredible moment, especially when he planted his face on that ball and got us back into the match. It's so important, and he seemed so emotional talking about it. It was wonderful to see. Yeah, I mean, there's so many to pick from that team, and just probably my favourite period, the one I saw most live matches for, was just sort of the period leading up to that. And I've got a real sort of penchant for the right backs. Like I've loved Fab. Tarico, I know he was kind of a right back, left back, but Tarico was an amazing player. But Mickey Stockwell for me was just, honestly, he just worked so tirelessly. He always, but he was good. He wasn't just there to make up the numbers, but he embodied so much about. I'm quite small. I'm 5'6", so to see someone charging around like that, for me growing up was so kind of an important role model, and he was a wicked player. So probably him for me. I mean, that Bolton playoff final second leg was insane. The excitement was ridiculous. Jim Agilton was incredible. Everybody talks about games under the lights on a Tuesday night, and you couldn't get anywhere beyond the atmosphere that game gave to us. It will always stick with me. I mean, the playoff final was incredible as well, to come back from 1-0 down, but to be in your own stadium, in a more familiar surrounding, and to feel so special. It felt more special than going to Wembley to me. It was just unbelievable scenes.
Of course, 8 goals, red cards, penalties, extra time. It was just unbelievable.
It had absolutely everything, didn't it? And I don't think it could ever be topped, really, because it meant so much. It was the build up to it as well. However many years we were in the playoffs beforehand, 3 years I think it was in a row before getting to that point. And it just the culmination of actually finally feeling like we've got the momentum to go up and go into the Premiership. Yeah, it's just insane.
I think going forward, I think that's the only way we're going to win. Get promoted is via the playoff final. We have to lose 3 years in a row.
We can't beat a top 6 team, Ross. How
Yeah.
I honestly don't get this theory. It's like, well, okay, we can be in the playoffs and we might have a chance. We've got no chance if we can't bloody beat a team in the top 6.
Yeah.
Insane. So the logic just doesn't stack up. There's some good ones around, obviously. Like we're not really a team of screamers, are we? We've never particularly been that way. But probably my favourite, the one that made the most impact on me, was Fabian Wilness against Man United when we beat them at home. It was such a sweet move. Everybody just stood off him. He just pegged it and struck it. It was genius, totally genius. That was my favourite.
And I think that was, our second or first home game back in the Premier League, and against Man United, who had just won. I think they just won the triple, was it? I think they won the treble thing.
They could have done. I mean, it was huge. It was huge. I mean, the momentum that gave us and the confidence it must have given us. It was a good moment, wasn't it? Yeah. And again, Fabian, another wicked right back. After him, really, it sort of tailed off a bit, didn't it? I mean, not really. Apart from, Kane. If Kane Vincent-Young can come back, and I know he's back in training now, isn't he?
Yeah.
If he can come back and give us some fitness and something to look forward to, we'll have somebody to sort of stand up to the names of the ones I've just mentioned.
Let's talk about kits. As you said, you slept in your first kit when you got it at Christmas. So, which kit was that, and also your favourite kit of all time?
So that was a nice one. That was it. Fison's going up the middle. It had a little bit of yellow trim, but it was very simple, sort of V-neck. My favourite was probably this. I think it was the season after, with I think it was 89 kit, with the sort of little red and blue sort of band around, like little bits around the top. It was like cool, but it had a cool pattern on it. I remember it, just the way it was sewed or the way it was put together. It just had a little sheen to it, and that was incredibly cool. Obviously, before my time slightly was the Radio Orwell Adidas kit across the front. That red band with the 3 stripes underneath it. That was pretty incredible. And I didn't really know that was the France kit. It was just the Ipswich kit, which is way more important. But probably that era of kits is pretty good. The one this year's is really nice. I'll give them that. And I was probably going to buy my kids one, but after the last week or so, I don't particularly feel like I'm gonna. It's really bad.
Yeah. Have you just added on question? Have you worn many kits during touring or even on stage and stuff like that?
No, not really. Not really. We've got a kind of black only veto for stage wear. Occasional white or grey, but that's about it. That's my colour palette. I don't really. I wear a couple of training tops when I'm out running and things like that, but I've never really bought into kits particularly. I did have one I wore for the playoff final. That was the home kit at the time. My brother had the orange one, which was lush. I love that kit. Actually, that's a good point. That's a nod to the away kits. Those orange kits were incredible. That year, the sort of 2000 playoff final orange kit was lovely. What else? Yeah, I think that'll do. That'll do me. I mean, results, they come and go, don't they? So you can kind of brush them off after a couple of weeks if something positive happens. But I would honestly say the last week or so has been the low point. I think just the way Lambert spoke, and he was acting like such, I don't know, I really lost so much respect for him when he attacked the media last week, because especially at the moment, we're all at home, we're all trying to get our news from the media and from people behind the scenes like yourself, Stu and Andy, and Mark. I'll give him a little throw in there, why not? But he and all the Blue Monday people and Brenna Woolley, for them to be sort of personally attacked just seems so vile to me, because they don't seem to know what the fans are thinking, and we're all over the place. We're all over the world. We're not just down the road necessarily. There's a lot of Ipswich Town fans around. It's amazing how many people you bump into wearing kits or whatever abroad, and there's a lot of people around who need information and they want to feel positive about their club. So for Lambert's comments after that match, and even the other day, his little quip about he knows what's meant to change, but he's not going to tell anybody. Yeah, what bloody use is that? It's just so frustrating. And of course, the "be careful what you wish for" stuff from Marcus Evans this week. It just really, I don't know. It just really makes you feel like we're not living in the same world as them, and it's a shame, because this is the time we all need to get behind the club. And like I was saying, I don't know if I want to buy a replica kit for my kids, because I just don't feel like it's the right atmosphere for them to sort of grow up watching football. It's mad, really. I mean, that Wembley playoff final day, I've said it before, a couple of interviews and stuff, but it was kind of the best day of my life, because I went watch this watch go to the Premiership, and then I went across with my brother and some friends to Wembley Arena and watched Pearl Jam play. And it was the first time I'd ever seen them play. It was in the same day. I was in my Ipswich kit. I went mental, got drunk, went home on the train. It was just coolest time. But like personally, a really big moment for me was I was at Frank Yallop's wedding. Do you remember Frank Yallop?
Yeah.
So basically, his wife, she was in the Co-op Juniors, and they're sort of, I don't know if you know of them, but they kind of do shows around Christmas time especially, and I was in the Co-op Juniors, and his wife was part of them, and she got like a bunch of the little ones to go and be like a guard of honor at the church, and we're all in like little Ipswich Town kits.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
And Craig Forrest was there, and Craig Forrest was like helping us out, getting us into the wedding car and stuff like that. And it was just like, wow, you're somebody that I look up to and watch kind of every couple of weeks, and I'm just sitting right next to you, just watching you get married. It was pretty mental. Yeah, that was a good time.
Definitely.
Oh, and we used to. My mum worked with Bobby Robson's wife.
Oh, cool.
So they went away for him to. I think he was going on to Porto. I think it was like an interview stage, and we looked after his dog for a weekend while they had a weekend trip to Porto. It was mega. So it was called Roger, by the way. It's Springer Spaniel. It's lovely. That was a bit of a personal moment, I suppose. But good vibes.
Cool. Now, I just want to add another question. I want to know how did you sort of get into drumming, really, in terms of because you grew up in Ipswich. How did that sort of come about in terms of you drumming?
I started. I went to Boys Brigade. I went to so every month we had like a parade, and they had like a band, bugles and side drums and stuff like that. And I was at Fourth Ipswich Company, big up, see if they're still going. And I started playing the side drum there. And then I sort of started wanting to learn at school. So I had a couple of drum lessons. And I mean, I just always formed bands at school with my mates. We used to play like the Earl Roberts and the Premier Pool Club and places like that. Put on our own nights, made a bit of cash. And it was really good fun. So I've always been in and around bands growing up, and then I met my bandmates at uni, and they all say I'm very lucky to have met them, and I am, of course I am. But it's nice to be in a band. It's a shame we haven't got any live music going on at all in the world at the moment. It seems so. The sooner that gets back, the better, for sure.
And one question, and what would you say is the because you said you wear Ipswich Town kits when you're sort of going abroad and stuff like that, where's the weirdest place you've sort of like bumped into an Ipswich fan?
Well, I've seen loads of blue action stickers around as well. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Like I went to a little German town called Aschaffenburg, and there was a blue action sticker in the I would have never have heard of that place if I wasn't gonna play there. And there was a blue action sticker in the toilet. That's pretty rad. Where else have I seen him? Turkey.
Yeah.
In Istanbul. Seen Ipswich Town fan there. Give him a little nod as he walks past. He's probably thinking, "Why is this guy nodding at me?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's good.
Because I'm sure you're the only Town fan in the band. I'm sure the other band members are probably support other clubs and stuff. So that must be a weird sort of like checking. You're checking the Ipswich score, and they're probably Man United fans or something like that.
It's really frustrating at the moment because on our little WhatsApp bants or whatever, they're constantly talking about the Premier League. And it's like I don't care. I honestly couldn't care less about that. There was a time I was vaguely interested in it. When we were a division apart, it was all right. But now, I honestly don't know what the league table looks like up there anymore. It's just completely beyond me. I'm a bit of a Villa fan actually because I lived in Birmingham for a long time, and Russell, our bass player, rhythm sections stick together. So I've been to Villa Park quite a few times with him, and it's really good fun. I was there when Steve Bruce had his last game, and someone chucked a Swede, I think it was, at him. Yeah. It was quite incredible. So that was a good moment. We've seen some really good and really awful games there. But I'm glad to see they're doing quite well.
Actually, would you say you go to more maybe away games for Town or home games? Because now where you're based.
Yeah, well, it's really hard down here. Even away games, it's hard to get to because there's not particularly many options. I possibly would have tried to go to Plymouth the other day, but I wasn't allowed. So, I've been to more other teams' games, to be honest. Like I say, lots of Villa Park, a couple of Southend games when they've been around here. I've got a friend who's a really big Southend fan. So I've been to sort of Exeter City and places like that with him, and that's good. It's kind of cathartic watching another team because I still get into it, especially if I'm with somebody who's got a real vested interest in them. I really get behind them, and so I'm loyal to Ipswich, of course, but I just want to enjoy going to live games. That's why it's nice to go to sort of non-league and stuff like that. We've got I live in a town called Street, just near Glastonbury, and they've got a good little football team. They went on like 2 seasons ago, they absolutely blitzed their league. It was quite amazing that they had a real good vibe about them. You see them in the pub afterwards, and it's really fun seeing lower leagues.
Yeah. It's great, like with the FA Cup. Every year there's always non-league. That's why I'm annoyed sometimes when we don't try to get through in the FA Cup or we get a terrible draw. Like the last few years. Like in the first round, we got Lincoln City last year. We got a replay with them. They had Portsmouth this year. It's like we don't want to play them again. We've got to play them twice in the league. It's like stop playing against these teams.
There should be rules, like in the Champions League where you can't play teams from your own country. There should be little rules about teams that you're not going to play. Was it last season where we played Coventry 3 times in a week or something?
Yeah, it was. It was mad. At St Andrews as well.
That must be so awful for you guys to cover. It's like just Groundhog Day.
Yeah, because of course it's not their normal ground. Like St Andrews, they're playing at Birmingham City's ground. Yeah. So it's sort of like it's weird to think because not many Coventry fans went because like a lot of them are boycotting going. So it was just weird just being not in Coventry's ground and just Birmingham City everywhere. It's like you have to go past Coventry to get to Birmingham, or you see the Ricoh Arena. So it's sort of like we're supposed to be over there, but we're going past it.
I mean, this is the thing. So, like that whole Ricoh Arena situation, Coventry have had a bad time recently.
Yeah.
It's all cyclical. Like this moment that Town are having at the moment, it will change, and there will be. It's just dragged on for so much longer than it seems for any other clubs. I think that's the thing. It just gets you down after a while, doesn't it? I thought we were meant to be on a positive one. We were meant to be ending this on a positive.
Yeah.
Not into this.
No. How you feeling for the season?
Strike or something.
Yeah, you played the strike. But Eddie, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, just I just honestly want to thank you for your podcast. they get me through quite a lot of my day. So all of them. I like your extra time ones. Everybody that's involved in them, yeah, they add something different to it. It's nice to hear people with Ipswich accents as well. Can you do me a favour, Ross? Can you say substitution for me?
Oh no, substitution.
Yeah, man.
I can't even say Ipswich right. I don't know. I've only just recently found that. It's like how I'm born and bred here, and I can't even say my hometown. Ipswich. I don't know.
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
I need to slow down. I just need to go Ipswich.
There we are.
If I rush it, my slip of the tongue, basically.
No, I love it. It's really entertaining. But thank you, and yeah, Kings of Anglia, man, rock on.